Alrighty, so let's get started with the presentation. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the last webinar in our eBiz Sneak Peek series. Welcome to the State of Idea, presented by Idea's President and CEO, David Oldfather, and Vice President of Sales and Marketing, Mike Wentz. David has over 20 years of experience in the electrical industry, holding a number of executive roles, including Executive Vice President of Operations at Tri-State Electric, as well as President of the US and Canada Electrical Divisions at AD. Most recently, in 2019, he served as part owner and Vice President of Jigsaw Systems. Our Vice President of Sales and Marketing, Mike Wentz, has nearly 40 years of experience in the electrical industry, over 10 of which he has spent here at IDEA, where he has been a vital player to our initiatives and goals. If you have any questions or comments during the presentation, you can type them in the Q&A, and we will be answering them at the end. There will be a brief survey at the completion of the webinar that we'd appreciate everyone complete for us to get your feedback. So with that, I will give David and Mike the floor.
Okay, thanks, Eliana. And thanks for joining us today. We're pleased to be able to provide you with an update on the state of IDEA in October 2020. As you can see, our plan is to provide a little bit of history leading up to IDEA's current mission, present a brief overview of our two businesses, share the initiatives we've adopted to fulfill our mission over the next 12 to 18 months, present you with an update on IDEA's position regarding data standards, share a few of the new features and capabilities available through the IDEA connector, and then listen to your comments, observations, as well as attempt to answer any questions you may have at the end of the presentation. In order to preserve bandwidth after our introductions, Mike and I will be turning off our cameras, but we'll turn them back on at the end to both confirm our humanity as well as to let you see us either rejoice or sweat as we attempt to answer your questions. We also have our product and services management team on hand to answer any questions you may have of a more technical nature. Next slide, please. So as some of you may recall, NEMA and IDEA announced their agreement to develop and launch an industry data warehouse, the IDW, in 1998 in order to allow distributors, manufacturers, and manufacturer representatives to exchange product information electronically through a common interface point. At the same time, they announced that a not-for-profit membership organization, the Industry Data Exchange Association, had been incorporated to manage the data warehouse and related electronic commerce matters for the industry. At the time, CCI Triad, a California-based technology company, which over time evolved into Epicor, was contracted to develop the IDW software, and an agreement in principle was reached with Trade Service Corporation to help facilitate the movement of data to and from the IDW. The goal was to provide a cost-effective means for distributors, manufacturers, and manufacturer representatives to synchronize their databases to ensure complete, accurate, and timely data, as well as improved profitability and productivity. Now, while a good deal of progress has been made since IDEA's inception, it appears as though IDEA has conceded some value-added applications and services over the past several years to the point that distributors and manufacturers are beginning to feel the need to look to other sources to complete their data management requirements. IDEA's current management team, IDEA's board of directors, and our stakeholders, NEMA and NAD, all firmly believe it is in the best interest of the electrical industry and its trading partners that IDEA recommit itself to addressing all of the electrical industry's data needs. So we've updated and slightly revised our mission to address the current and future needs of the electrical industry, as well as reaffirmed our commitment to serving as the standards body for the electrical industry. Next slide, please. Now, you heard me say just a few minutes ago that IDEA was initially introduced as a not-for-profit membership association, and that in fact mirrored the nonprofit status of its two co-equal stockholders, NEMA and NAD. Well, it turns out that because of the nature of IDEA's proposed activities, it was determined that IDEA actually needed to be a taxable entity rather than a non-taxable one. So its status was changed in or around 2003. It was during the same time frame that IDEA's proprietary extranet, the IDEA Exchange, was launched via MCI WorldCom, which is one of our two businesses, the Exchange, not MCI WorldCom. I'd like to turn the presentation over to Mike to give you a little more background on both.
Thanks, Dave. IDEA Exchange is a digital exchange mechanism so that electronic data can be traded back and forth between trading partners. It's a very efficient way. It eliminates a lot of errors, and it's a mature technology, but we see a continued growth in that area every year. And today, more and more companies are looking for ways to eliminate manual processes, and digital integration has become a popular term within the digital migration that many companies are going through. So we provide many services associated with that, and we see that area of the business continuing to grow, oftentimes through professional services or managed services. An IDEA connector was originally the core reason why IDEA was created in the first place. As David mentioned, it was originally launched as the IDW, the Industry Data Warehouse. Today, IDEA Connector is a modern, state-of-the-art technology platform that validates, stores, receives, secures, and syndicates transactional data, which was the original data content, the actual information about the product, and it certainly has been enhanced to provide all e-commerce content, all enriched content that's available from any of the manufacturers. And today we provide unlimited capacity for all of our manufacturers to provide all of their content to IDEA. Next slide. Just to drill a little bit more in depth about Exchange, it is a very cost-efficient way to provide a value-added network, or the term is VAN, to support the industry. At the time when IDEA was first founded, the transactional rates, or the kilocharacter rates for EDI in the industry were extremely high. And just as a note, as far as, from a history perspective, the electrical industry was one of the early industries to adopt EDI as a mechanism to more efficiently exchange information or transactions between trading partners. So EDI was established a long time ago, well before IDEA was formed, and it continues to thrive today. We do provide, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, outsourced managed services and professional project services for companies that are looking to supplement their internal staff, or in some cases, some of our companies that we work with are seeing a trend of some folks that have EDI backgrounds actually retiring and maybe moving on. And so they're looking to replace or to completely fill a position that they previously had on staff. And it's much more flexible and applicable to use an outsource like IDEA to provide those managed services. So it's something that we see as a growing offering from IDEA. David?
Okay, thanks, Mike. Moving to the connector, basically, after agreeing to join IDEA in mid-February this year, I basically read through every document and contract I get my hands on. I interviewed each one of our 30 employees, spoke with a number of ideas, manufacturing and distributor customers, as well as several participating associations. As a result, it became increasingly apparent to me that we needed to establish 3 short-term priorities. First, we needed to release a functioning idea connector within budget and on time. And I'd like to take a second to fully acknowledge Bill Ferguson, Brenda Maxwell, and Sherry Thorne, and the respective teams for enabling this to happen, and they'd help make it happen during the height of the pandemic. The second short-term priority was to really proactively begin to reach out to our customer base to repair damaged relationships. And number 3, the short-term priority was to, in the act of repairing relationships, to reestablish trust in our management team, as well as that in our sense of urgency and direction. So now that a little more time has passed, our management team has had time to get together and set forth the longer-term strategic initiatives you see on the slide, and all of them have been approved by the IDEA board. So first, we've begun reaching out to manufacturers to send us all their data, both transactional and enriched e-commerce content, and both structured and unstructured. We have unlimited capacity, and we've actually changed our pricing model so that we're no longer charging based on SKUs. So we're encouraging our manufacturers to give us all of their data. Number 2, we have begun to develop and implement a couple of new programs to improve the quality of our data. And you'll see that come to fruition over the next 12 to 15 months. We're in the process, number 3, of assembling a roadmap for reporting on the quality of that data, which will include, which I want to highlight, which will include reaching out to our manufacturer and distributor customers to determine the kind of reports they would find useful and available via an online dashboard. And then finally, we are recommitting ourselves to serving as the standards body for the electrical industry. If we could move to the next slide, I'd like to talk a little bit more about recommitting. So admittedly, there's been some confusion about IDEA's position regarding data standards over the last 12 to 18 months, which I'd like to address. It seems to me that it would be illogical and somewhat self-defeating to attempt to serve as a single source of high-quality commercial-grade data for the electrical industry without also at the same time taking a leadership position in setting, facilitating, and monitoring data standards. So we've recommitted ourselves to serving as the standards body for the electrical industry. And to this end, we've agreed to co-sponsor. As you can see, we're co-sponsoring ETIM North America. ETIM North America has given us a seat on the ETIM board. And by the way, we co-sponsor with DDS, which I very much appreciate. We also chair the ETIM North American Electrical Sector Board. So we actually serve on 2 ETIM North American boards. We've re-engaged with the Product Data Standards Task Force, and we're currently pursuing proof of concept for a super data model. Now that's a little misleading. We're actually looking to see if we can translate or harmonize one of the taxonomies with another. And we've partnered and engaged with Data Agility. Thank you, Denise Keating, who's working with us to do the analysis and lending us their expertise. I have begun to attend all of the Electrical Engineering Association board meetings, both to share where we're at, as well as to receive guidance, advice, any comments or observations that either of the associations would like to give. And then finally, we want to reiterate that standards is a critical component. We recognize it's a critical component of increasing the efficiency for the industry. So if we could move to the next slide, please.
David,
okay, you got this, Mike? Okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to add on a little bit about standards. Again, when David alluded to how the organization was formed back in 1998, standards was what people considered the third leg of the stool. And the fact that the electrical industry foresight to create an industry group like IDEA was so far ahead of the industries or the distribution supply chains that are adjacent to electrical, where industry standards in some cases are still not available, and therefore their progress has been slow. And sometimes we're critical of ourselves in the electrical industry, but again, the standards that were created back in the early days have really allowed us to go very far with improving and facilitating the transfer of an exchange of product information. So just like in electrical products where safety is so important and standards are critical, the industry believed that standards were critical to the exchange of information, especially when it pertained to product information as well. Next slide. So just a quick update. We mentioned that IDEA launched the new connector in April of 2020. And as David mentioned, it was a time when there was certainly a whole lot going on in the world. And we were able to do that. Bill and his team were able to convert. And now we have a platform that's state of the art that will lead us for a generation ahead. And it is now, we now have the capability to rapidly transfer information. We have a modern user interface, and we have the ability to support significant growth within the channel. And that's one of the main reasons that certainly now we can handle unlimited product content from every manufacturer. We have the ability to support unlimited number of attributes, 360-degree images, digital assets. We want them all so that we can provide them to the authorized trading partners. And video is certainly growing. And I can tell you from my experience this past year with Insight Commerce, so much of the digital assets that we're beginning to see become available are being utilized on some of the best e-commerce platforms. And we see that growing as we go forward. CAD drawings, specification sheets, as well as we now offer the ability to provide application programming interface, and a new product that was just announced not too long ago that's really exciting and is leading a lot of distributors and manufacturers to look close at it, is the IDEA Fusion. It's an SQL database, and again, it can assist manufacturers and distributors in working with their data, perhaps even before they bring it into their own PIM if they happen to have one. So, and if you don't have a PIM, the IDEA Fusion product is something that really gives you a lot more capability to control and manage the data that you extract from the connector. David?
Next slide then.
David, this is Bill. Can I just add one thing to this?
Yes, please do.
And that is, in previous, when we had the IDW, there was a lot of confusion on the ability for IDEA to add attributes that we didn't currently have. It was very difficult to add attributes, but we could do it. With Connector, the attributes are unlimited and we can enter them extremely fast. So if you're a manufacturer and you've got additional attributes you'd like to add for marketing purposes or whatever purposes, just reach out to us. We can add those for you extremely quickly. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. I just wanted to add, that's a great example. And again, reflecting back in the early years when we outsourced our technology platform, ability to change quickly was was not that great. And as we saw the industry changing and the need for our ability to adapt quickly, we realized that we had to invest in a technology where we could control it and have our own platform. So the days of this outsourcing ended when we converted to Connector, and Bill has a full complement of technology folks that can react to special requests. They can react to whatever's needed in the industry. And I missed this last column, but one of the main things that people notice most about Connector initially is the powerful extract mapping platform. So you have the ability to extract content today with a much more sophisticated tool than was ever available in the IDW. And of course, the compatibility with various formats, we can take it pretty much any way the manufacturer can provide it to us. So, the platform is a full translation capability. It's a multi-tenant architecture. And as I mentioned earlier, it works very nicely if you happen to have your own PIM. David, next slide.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I guess in closing, IDEA doesn't want to simply tag along or need to be prodded to provide products and services when they're either needed or requested. As the electrical industry standards body and single source of data, we fully intend to take a leadership position in simplifying data loading, data management, and data extraction, as well as anticipating the future needs and concerns of our constituents, and then prescribing a path forward. And what you see on the screen, the vendor portal and smart template technology, which I won't read for you, represent two near-term examples, hopefully, of this more proactive approach that we intend to take going forward. And if you have specific questions about either the vendor portal or the smart template technology, we have Bill Ferguson, who you just heard, that would be delighted, I'm sure, to go into more detail. He's pretty excited about both these enhancements. And finally, we will, giving a pledge, we'll continue to make additional investments in our technology, and we'll continue to look for, seek out industry's top talent to help us fulfill our mission. So that pretty much, unless Mike, you have anything you'd like to add, will bring us to the end of our presentation, and we'll turn on our cameras and answer any questions, or at least attempt any questions that you have.
And the way you go about that is there's a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. If you click on that and you type in a question, it should come through to our screens, and we'll be able to address that question. So here's one that came in. Can IDEA provide EDI resources to supplement an existing EDI team? And the answer to that is absolutely. We are well positioned to be able to provide resources for long-term projects on a continuous basis, or if you have a special need that maybe it's a short-term engagement, we would be happy to discuss that and get back to you as well. I guess the first question that came in, will we be sharing these slides after the presentation? Yes, we will make those available. And Eliana, do you know, will we be transmitting those, or will they be available on our site?
Yeah, so we will be emailing everyone when the recording as well as the presentation slides will be available.
Okay, great. Another question came in: how does a vendor portal or smart template benefit Contractor or the Connector manufacturer users and distributors? And I think that's the one that Bill was going to take. Bill?
Absolutely, and it's why I'm really excited about it. See, the vendor portal is a way for the industry. It's an additional way for the industry to enter their data into IDEA Connector, but it's much more than that. It is a direct access into the platform. It combined with the smart template is a way to replace the B views. It's a way for, if you have a change to your data, you're not going to have to rely on sending significantly large downloads, but in fact, you could, when you make your change, it'll just update the industry at that time. The portal also will allow larger manufacturers who have many separate divisions. Sometimes those divisions are global and their data is scattered really across the world. It's not all in one place. The portal will be able to take that. It'll be able to collate that data, and using the Smart Template Pro, you could actually export all of that data via Smart Template Pro into your own database, and you could have all of your corporate data all in one place. There's so many things about that I like. I'm sure there's more. Give me a moment, Mike, and continue on.
Okay. Another question came in, is net pricing available within the connector? And that's an absolute yes. And we constantly get distributors that's an important benefit if manufacturers will provide it. So we always encourage our distributors to remind their authorized manufacturers to supply net pricing. It certainly saves a lot of time for the distributor and makes the benefit greater by using connector and having a one-to-many approach. Bill, were you ready?
Yes. Yeah. Senior moment. Apologies there. Another benefit to the vendor portal. The vendor portal is really, it's identical to our connector platform. It is a full-blown MDM. It does have some of the extract capabilities removed from it, but as far as import and managing that data, it's all the same. But not only that, if you were a manufacturer and you wanted to add additional configurations, or you wanted to add additional rules, or you wanted to add additional validations, you'll be able to do those things, and it'll be totally separate and in just for your own particular environment. And there's a large benefit to that. Oh, and another thing, keep thinking of things here. The other piece is, let's say you have a significant amount of data that you don't necessarily, or products that you don't really consider ready for prime time yet. Maybe it's data that, or it's a product that is in the design phase, and you want a place to put, all that information, but you're not ready to send it to IDEA. With the vendor portal, you can have your own repository for that data. And then as you build out that particular product and you're creating the additional attribution, you'll have a place to put that and have it all in one spot, not sitting on someone's laptop or someone's Excel spreadsheet where there's not version control, but you'll have that as well. So the vendor portal really allows Connector to wind up being that single source of truth for all electrical data, even if it's not ready for syndication yet.
Thanks, Bill. We also might have a question in chat that goes as opposed to Q&A.
Okay, when you say that you will improve the quality of the data next 12 to 15 months, what does that mean and what will you improve? And David, do you want to take that one or do you want me to take that one?
No, I got it. So there are a couple of things. First of all, we get a number of data quality tickets where a distributor is asking us on their behalf to intercede with a manufacturer to make a correction to data or to improve an image, to resize it. And so what we're working on is to make the process for the distributor through the connector can reach to the appropriate manufacturer and get a response much more quickly. In the meantime, while we're developing that, we've also brought on additional resource to help us work through the tickets that we already have. Second component of that is we're looking at our list of values, and where a product has multiple ways that it's referred to in a field, we're looking to see if we can't reduce the manner in which it's referred to in the free form and bring it down to something that would be less, you would need to manipulate to use less. So instead of hundreds of voltage or volt or V, we'll see if we can't standardize to one or two names for that particular product. So that's an initial response to that question. Over a longer term, we plan to come out to each of our manufacturers and distributors and say, okay, what is it that you would like to measure? What would you like us to measure? And what would you like us to post so that folks can see what those metrics are? And so when we've reached out to a few distributors and manufacturers and said, would you support this? Everyone has said, if you will stay away from politics and report truthfully, we would welcome that. And so that is our longer term intent. Mike, you have anything you want to add, or you okay with that?
No, I think you covered that well. That was a complete answer. I honestly am not seeing any additional questions at this time. So David, I don't know if you wanted to summarize and close.
Well, we're reaching out to the community, electric community. We would like to hear from you. We'd like to hear what you would like to see from us. We'd like you to tell us what you don't think we're doing well and could improve. We're going to do our best not to be defensive. We're going to do our best to be open-minded, because we want to serve as a single source. And to do that, we have to be responsive and responsible to the community we represent. So just reach out to any one of us, and we'll do our best to respond.
So I would like to also just take a moment to thank everyone for tuning in today. And certainly most of you are probably customers and current and maybe longtime customers. And we want to just take a moment to thank you for your business and thank you for your confidence over the years. We're working hard to deliver the solutions that you need to serve your customers more effectively. And we just want to say thank you for your business, and we appreciate you attending.
And thank you, Mike and David. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us for our eBiz Sneak Peek series. We will be reaching out to everyone, as mentioned, to let you know when you can access the recording of this webinar and the presentation if you'd like to watch it again. Please don't forget to answer the brief survey at the end, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.